Right now, thoughts are appearing in your mind. You didn't schedule them. You didn't consciously create them. They just arrived. Here is a simple experiment. Try to predict your next thought. Go ahead, try it right now. What happened? The moment you tried to predict it, thoughts about trying appeared, and you didn't choose those either. This reveals something profound. You experience thousands of thoughts every day, but you can't control what thoughts appears next. Yet somehow the mind takes credit for something that already occurred. It's like claiming ownership of clouds that drift across the sky. The clouds simply appear, move through the vast space, and disappear. You are the sky, the open awareness in which thoughts arise and pass away. The sky doesn't create the clouds, and it certainly doesn't struggle with them. But we've been conditioned to believe these mental formations belong to us. We say, my thoughts, as if we manufactured them in some internal factory. This assumption creates an enormous burden, the weight of being responsible for every random mental visitor. Before we continue, if you're ready to break free from the repeating patterns that hold you back, check out my free guide, 5 Inner Blocks That Keep You from Deep Spiritual Growth. The link is waiting for you in the top comment below. What if your mind works more like a radio than a thought factory? Think about it. A radio doesn't create the music. It receives signals from stations broadcasting across the airwaves, tuned to different frequencies, and different content flows through. The radio is simply a receiver, translating invisible signals into audible experience. Your mind operates similarly. It picks up signals from the vast field of collective consciousness. Thoughts arise from conditions completely outside your personal control. Past experiences, cultural programming, ancestral patterns, even the collective energy of humanity itself. Consider those moments when a thought appears that feels completely foreign to who you think you are. A flash of anger that surprises you. A worry that seems to come from nowhere. A repetitive loop that plays the same mental track over and over. These aren't malfunctions. They're signals your mind is receiving from the broader field of consciousness. Imagine individual minds as perforated circles drawn on a vast sheet of white paper. The paper represents infinite consciousness. Each circle encloses a portion of this awareness. But because the boundaries are porous, each mind remains in contact with all others. This explains why certain thoughts stick while others pass through effortlessly. It's about resonance. When a thought form floating in the collective field discovers something it can attach to, an existing belief or some unresolved pattern, it takes hold. You've experienced this. A slight irritation about something small suddenly connects with deeper frustrations, and before you know it, the minor annoyance has become a storm of negativity. You didn't create that storm. You simply provided the conditions for it to form. The universal experience of repetitive thoughts makes perfect sense from this perspective. These aren't your personal failures of mental discipline. They're persistent signals broadcasting from the collective field, finding resonance with patterns already established in your individual receiver. Some frequencies play constantly: worry, comparison, judgment, fear. Others are more intermittent: inspiration, clarity, love, wisdom. Your mind picks up whatever signals match its current tuning. This understanding should bring profound relief. You didn't create the mental patterns that cause you suffering. They existed long before you arrived and will continue after you're gone. You inherited them from family systems, absorbed them from culture, picked them up from the collective human experience of trauma and conditioning. The belief that mental activity equals personal identity is one of our deepest illusions. We think we are our thoughts because we experience them so intimately. But intimacy doesn't equal ownership. You experience the weather intimately too. Rain soaks your skin, wind moves through your hair, sun warms your face. But you don't claim to be the weather. You recognize yourself as the space in which weather occurs. The same principle applies to thoughts. You are the aware space in which mental weather patterns arise and dissolve. Sometimes the weather is stormy, sometimes calm, sometimes unpredictable. But the sky remains unchanged regardless of what passes through it. This shift in perspective changes everything. Instead of fighting thoughts as personal enemies, you can observe them as impersonal phenomena. Instead of judging yourself for mental content you didn't choose, you can rest in the awareness that receives all experiences without being defined by any of them. The mind receives, the sky witnesses. You are neither the receiver nor the received, but the vast awareness in which both appear and disappear. Here is where many people get stuck. They learn that thoughts aren't theirs and immediately try to do something about it. They attempt to detach from thoughts. They fight against negative patterns. They create elaborate strategies to control their mental weather. But this is like standing in a field during a thunderstorm, shaking your fist at the clouds and demanding they change. It's the futility of trying to fight clouds when you are the sky itself. When you try to detach from thoughts, you're still operating from the belief that the thoughts are things that need to be managed. But detachment becomes another form of resistance. It's still the mind trying to control the mind. You can't think your way out of thinking. You can't use mental effort to escape mental patterns. The very attempt creates more mental activity, more thoughts about thoughts, more stories about why you should or shouldn't be having certain experiences. This is the trap that catches even seasoned spiritual seekers. They understand intellectually that thoughts aren't personal, but then they make a project out of not identifying with them. They turn non-identification into another identity. Watch what happens when you try to detach from a persistent thought. The trying itself becomes a new thought pattern. Now you have the original thought plus all the thoughts about not wanting that thought. The mental noise increases. The difference between observation and identification is subtle but crucial. Identification means you become the thought. I am angry, rather than anger is here. Observation means you notice what's arising without merging with it. But even observation can become a trap if you make it into a practice you're supposed to perform. The moment you create rules about how you should relate to thoughts, you're falling back into the mind's game of control. What if there's nothing to fix? What if the thoughts are already exactly as they need to be? This doesn't mean you become passive or stop discerning. It means you stop fighting the weather patterns of consciousness. You stop trying to rearrange the clouds to suit your preferences. Acceptance without ownership, this is the key. You can let thoughts be what they are without claiming them as yours. You can allow mental storms without becoming the storm. You can witness the full spectrum of human consciousness moving through your awareness without identifying with any of it. The natural dissolution occurs when you stop feeding thoughts with resistance. What you fight persists. What you accept without attachment naturally passes through. Think of thoughts like visitors to your house. Some visitors are welcome, others less so. But you don't have to become any of your visitors. You can be a gracious host to all experiences while remaining yourself. The aware space in which visitors come and go. The simple practice is witnessing without engaging the story. When thoughts arise, you don't need to analyze them, argue with them, or push them away. You don't need to detach from them either. You simply rest as the sky in which all mental weather occurs. Before we wrap up, if you found this helpful and want to go deeper, remember that free download I mentioned, 5 inner blocks that keep you from deep spiritual growth. The link is waiting for you in the top comment below. When the burden of ownership lifts, something profound happens. You realize you were never broken because the thoughts were never yours to begin with. All those years of judging yourself for mental content you didn't create, all that energy spent trying to fix patterns that were flowing through you from the collective field of consciousness, all that struggle against clouds while forgetting you are the sky. The sky remains unchanged regardless of weather patterns. Storms may rage, gentle breezes may blow, but the vast open space of awareness is never disturbed by what passes through it. This isn't a philosophy to believe, it's reality to recognize. Right now, in this moment, you are the awareness that observes all mental activity. You are not the activity itself. Rest in this recognition. You don't need to maintain it or protect it. You don't need to practice being the sky. You already are. The invitation is simply to stop pretending you are the clouds.